After all that, how can I describe the loss of their son? How it affected all of us? Let me go back to those days. The tournament was over. The hangovers had faded. We musicians resumed our duties after being granted a day of rest. Catherine had me back in the Queen's chambers, safely installed in a corner with a lute. Henry, in his usual whirlwind of activity, alternated between the hunt, the tennis court when the rain was too pressing, and gathering 4 intimate friends and 6 musicians to join him in surprising the Queen in her chambers, disguised as
Robin Hood.
Oh, my lord, I didn't know it was you.
Catherine, my love. We do desire snacks.
And the rest of the time they visited their infant son in his quarters, already staffed with wet nurse, carver, sailorman, and baker. The baby had his own trio of musicians, but about 2 weeks after the tournament, Henry and I brought our lutes into the nursery, and the king was delighted at his son's reaction.
Look at him, John. You can tell he's listening. We'll make a musician out of him yet.
The Queen had been churched for the tournament, so there were no more visits to lusty Lady Peggy for the king, although I did get a wink one night as I stood in the corridor leading to her room, as Henry and his gentleman passed me on his way to Catherine's apartments. Coeur Loyal's little disloyalty was all forgot, and 2 nights later we were enjoying yet another banquet. The Queen had presented the king with a new shirt that morning, sewed by her own fair hand, and he was preening in it for her over dinner, as we musicians in the gallery switched to love songs to underscore the arrival of sweetmeats.
Shall I sing for you, my love? Bring John and the others down to me here.
But just then, Her Majesty received a message from the wet nurse, reporting His Highness was off his feet, grizzling a little, maybe a little hot. The Queen excused herself as Henry joked about anxious new mothers and called for livelier music. He wanted a round. We obliged with a roof raiser. I was singing the main line, providing an anchor with the guitar, and Henry joined me before dropping into the harmony line as he had so often when he was a boy. The gentlemen of Henry's entourage joined in and soon added hand claps. Henry and I were leading the fray, and I had the king's musicians all following me, tight as a drum. Then Mountjoy was there, interrupting, begging for a word with the king.
Your Majesty, His Royal Highness has a fever. The Queen begs the King will wait on her. But she begs her gracious lord.
And you see, I was looking right at Henry. We'd been singing, eye to eye, almost nose to nose. It was just unlucky. I was looking right at him as the familiar fear gripped him. I knew, and he knew that I knew. He wasn't going to answer the Queen's summons. He was afraid. Henry dismissed me with a flick of his wrist. But although the room emptied around us, and he appeared to be deep in conversation with Mountjoy, when I bowed and made to go, he held up his hand, not looking at me, bidding me stay with a snap of his fingers. My pupil, my musical acolyte, the frightened, cosseted boy, snapped his fingers at me.
Go with Mountjoy, Master Blank. The Queen may have need of music.
For the rest of the night I stood silent in the hall outside His Royal Highness's apartments, holding my lute, watching Catherine's ladies scurry in and out, while within the Queen paced in her son's bedchamber. and Henry never came. He was locked in his privy closet, his gentleman said. Messages of support arrived for Catherine, but no sign of her husband. Near dawn I was called in, summoned to face a hollow-eyed mother.
You are Morisco. Do you not know of any Arabic remedies? Did you bring anything with you? Do you have anything from your mother?
Jesucristo, protégenos, Señor.
Doña Elvira glared at me, and I saw Fray Domenico cross himself. I did not, I replied. Again I was dismissed. By dawn, Catherine was on her knees, leading her ladies in prayer. Later that day, the little prince gave up the ghost. A message was sent to the king.
Oye tú, rápido, llévale esto a su majestad.
Catherine herself washed her son's little body before breaking down and being led to her apartments. And King Henry, a strapping young man of 20, 6'2" in his stocking feet, stayed in his closet and planned an elaborate funeral for his son.
The Queen, like a natural woman, made much lamentation.
The king, like a wise prince, took this dolorous chance wondrous wisely.